We talk a lot here about the economic costs of the pandemic, of the shutdown, of the economic depression, but one of the things we need to focus more on is about mental health, addiction, and that crisis that's happening. And we just got some new data in from Gallup about what exactly this year has meant for so many Americans, and it's really terrible. Let's do this up there on the screen. Americans rating their mental health as excellent has declined by a net 9 points overall. But if you look at some of these cross tabulations, you start to see a really sad story, which is that, of course, in 2019, young people already had a 37% rating of their mental health as excellent. That has dropped by 9 points to 28. And you can see there generally consistent results across the board. And you also see a strange Republican percentage drop change higher than any others, clocking in there at 15%. But I think that the class difference here, Krystal, is also a bigger story.
Yeah.
You see that at 100K or more, you've seen a 12% drop. Same thing with 40 to 99K. But amongst the poor in this country, people who are already in poverty, they were already at 33% and dropped to 27, so -6. But just goes to show they were starting off from a position of 33% when richer Americans have just dropped to 45. So the relative nature there is important too.
Yeah, so life was a struggle for people making less than 40K before the pandemic. Pandemic hits, life is still a struggle for people making under 40K. You know, it's the rich who are used to like traveling around and all of the things that, you know, the benefits of life that are on offer to them on the normal day, who from an absolute perspective, like in net terms, have seen the greatest decline, which is kind of fascinating. But yeah, looking at that breakdown, I mean, I guess it's not that surprising, but the people who are struggling the most in terms of economics are also the people who are struggling the most in terms of their mental health overall in absolute terms.
Yeah.
We talk here so much about how hard the youngest generations in this country have been hit. They've been hit by crisis after crisis after crisis, and not to mention a country that's just coming apart, that's really lost any sort of like core values or sense of like, hey, we're in this together and we're moving towards this goal. We've lost this expectation that things are going to just keep getting better and better and better, and that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Like, we've lost that optimism about the future for this country. And I think that really weighs on young people in particular.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a surprise that the lowest numbers on this chart are age 18 to 29 and household income of under 40,000. That's where they're currently clocking in at 28% self-reported excellent mental health and 27% for people who are poor in America. And I think that is very much the trajectory that we're going to see going forward. And you just see the contours of an immense crisis in years to come that's building up. What does this do when it builds up over year after year after year? I can tell you the results are not good, and we know what's happening in Congress. We know also, I mean, here's my real question. I want to know about how teenagers and middle schoolers are feeling. These are their lost years. I mean, people who were seniors in high school, juniors, and others just lost almost an entire year of their life. They don't know, have so much uncertainty about college, about their own prospects. Many of them are sitting at home online all the time. Must be driving people crazy. I was just reading a McKinsey study about kids and the amount of average on months in absolute terms that they're falling behind on education. The minimum is 3, and the average is 5. So 5 months behind on certain subjects. And you can see absolute failure rates going up in terms of number of Fs. So there's a dark story that's being told.
I don't even think that's the worst of it. I think the worst of it is the loss of that like social connection and that community, and that sense of like a social, you know, a literal social safety net for people to get some sort of sense of community and personal outlet that has just been stripped away, which can be particularly critical in those early years. I mean, I was looking at research that said, you know, something like 70% of young people have contemplated suicide in recent months. I mean, this is as dire as it gets. And actually, because of the way that the suicide numbers are reported, we aren't going to know how bad that specific metric is until a year or so down the road. We also won't get a complete picture of overdose deaths until a year or so down the road. But all of the anecdotal evidence says that we are in absolute crisis across this country. and it's not getting nearly enough attention, let alone anyone actually doing anything about it here in DC.
Yeah, well, that's the last thing you can expect, right?
Thank you all so much for joining us. We're going to wish you a happy holiday season. We'll be back tomorrow with more great guests, of course.
That's right. Remember to hit the subscribe button and don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. And we will see you all tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys.